All right, let's talk about blockchain. But hang on, before you think about complex code or crazy jargon, let's look at this a different way. Think of blockchain not just as a technology, but as a really clever solution to a problem we all run into constantly. Systems that depend on one single authority and what happens when that trust, well, just breaks. We're going to break this down into 4 parts. First up, we'll get into something I called the centralization trap, to really understand the systems we're using right now. Then we'll introduce blockchain as this whole new way of doing things. After that, we're going to pop the hood and look at the engine of trust to see how it actually works. And finally, we'll connect the dots and see how this all goes from just being code to becoming a real force for community. So let's kick things off with part 1, the centralization trap. This is all about the stuff we use every single day. The banks, the social media platforms, the servers, basically the digital plumbing that runs our modern lives. And it brings up a huge question, one you've definitely asked yourself when your favorite app goes down or you hear about another data breach. Why do these systems that we rely on so heavily feel so fragile? Or even worse, kinda untrustworthy? The answer, it turns out, is baked right into how they're designed.
And this right here, this is the core issue. The systems were used to put all the control and all the risk in one singular place. We have to trust that central company or server. But the alternative model, it completely flips that on its head. Control gets spread out, which dramatically lowers the risk. And this is the big one. Trust isn't something you just have to give to some faceless organization. It's literally built into the system with math and cryptography.
Let's really hammer these weaknesses home. There are 3 massive problems with centralization. First, that single point of failure. We've all been there when a website is down for hours. If the main server goes, everything goes. Second, censorship. The company in charge can change the rules, delete your stuff, or just kick you off without any say from you. And third, they're just not that efficient. When every single action has to go through one central point, you get bottlenecks. Things just slow down.
Okay, so if centralization is the trap, how do we get out? This is exactly where blockchain comes into the story. It wasn't just invented out of the blue. It was specifically designed to solve these problems of failure, censorship, and inefficiency. It's a whole new foundation for building trust.
So what even is a decentralized system? Well, imagine a network where nobody's in charge, but everybody is in charge at the same time. I know. It sounds weird, but instead of one big server holding all the information, that info is copied and spread out across tons of different computers. This one simple change in design, it changes everything. And this new design is what gives blockchain its superpowers. Because it's decentralized, there's no single off switch. Because its records are immutable, you can't secretly go back and change the past. And because it's transparent, anyone can check to make sure the rules are being followed. You wrap all of that up in some powerful cryptography, and you get a system that's just incredibly tough by its very nature. Okay. So how can a network of total strangers with no boss ever agree on anything? That's the million-dollar question, right? And the answer is this incredible innovation, the engine of trust that makes this whole thing possible. The secret sauce is something called the consensus layer. The easiest way to think about it is like a digital rulebook for the entire network. It's a set of automated rules that every computer on the network agrees to follow no matter what. Its only job is to make sure that every new transaction is legitimate and that everyone's copy of the public ledger is exactly the same, all without a CEO or a manager calling the shots. Now, to make that agreement happen, networks usually use one of 2 main approaches. The first is proof of work. Think of it like a really intense competition. So-called miners use a ton of computing power to solve a math puzzle. The winner gets to add the next block of transactions, proving they did the work to keep things secure. The other big one is proof of stake. This is more like putting down a security deposit. Participants stake their own crypto as collateral to show they have skin in the game. If you act honestly, you get a reward. If you cheat, you lose your stake. All right, so we've covered the how. For this last part, let's zoom out and really dig into the why. Why does this matter? How does a technical idea like this grow from just lines of code into something that can actually reshape entire industries? This stuff didn't just pop up overnight. The basic idea had been floating around for decades, but the real game changer was in 2008 with Bitcoin. It gave us the first real-world use case, digital money without needing a bank. But then, in 2015, Ethereum took that idea and blew it wide open with smart contracts. Suddenly, blockchain wasn't just about money anymore.
It became a platform you could build almost anything on.
And the potential uses are just wild, from tracking products around the globe to managing our digital identities. But let's focus on one really powerful, high-stakes example. Could a system that's built on transparency and can't be changed actually help create a more trustworthy way to vote? The arguments for it are pretty compelling. First, transparency. An open ledger means pretty much anyone could check the vote count themselves. Security is another huge one. The fact that the blockchain can't be altered means once a vote is cast, it is locked in for good. No tampering. And those two things together could build way more trust because you're not relying on one single organization that could be hacked or, just not trusted.
But of course, it's not that easy. The promise is one thing, but making it a reality is way more complicated. There are some massive challenges. Like, how do you prove who each voter is to stop fraud, but still keep their vote private? Can a network like this even handle millions of votes all at once? And maybe the biggest hurdle of all, can you make it simple enough for absolutely everyone to use, not just the tech-savvy folks?
So when you really boil it all down, you get to this core idea. It's a system for facilitating trust without a central authority. That's why this is so important. It's a brand new tool that lets people and groups work together with confidence without needing that traditional middleman to vouch for everyone. And that kind of leaves us with one last big thought. Now that you get this fundamental shift, this move away from a central boss to a distributed system, you start seeing opportunities for it everywhere. So I'll just leave you with this question. As you go about your day, what other systems, from social media to your health records, seem like they're just waiting for this kind of change? The possibilities are really just getting started.